Let's begin with a tale of two very different lives. The first man is Ronald Reed. Ronald was a janitor and a gas station attendant in rural Vermont. He lived a quiet, humble life. He chopped his own firewood and wore old flannel shirts. When he died at the age of 92, the humble janitor made international headlines. Why? Because he left behind a fortune of over $8 million. Now consider the second man, Richard Fuscone. Richard was everything Ronald was not. He was a Harvard-educated executive at Merrill Lynch. He was so successful in the finance world that he retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. He lived in an 18,000 square foot mansion with 2 swimming pools and 7 garages. But then the 2008 financial crisis hit. Richard, who had borrowed heavily to expand his lifestyle, was wiped out. He went bankrupt. His mansion was foreclosed and sold for pennies on the dollar. Think about this for a moment. A janitor dies a multimillionaire, while a top finance executive goes broke. In what other industry is this even possible? Can a janitor perform better heart surgery than a Harvard-trained surgeon? No. Can a school teacher build a better rocket than a NASA engineer? Impossible. But in finance, it happens all the time. Why? Because doing well with money has a little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money, teaches us that financial success is a soft skill, where how you behave is more important than what you know. Today, we will explore the timeless lessons from this book that will help you move from being just rich to being truly wealthy. Lesson 1: No one is crazy. We often judge people for how they spend their money. We look at someone buying lottery tickets or investing in risky stocks and think, are they crazy? The first lesson of the book is simple: no one is crazy. People from different generations, raised by different parents who earned different incomes and held different values, in different parts of the world, born into different economies, experience the world very differently. If you were born in 1970, the S&P 500 increased almost tenfold during your teenage years. You likely saw the stock market as a wealth-generating machine. But if you were born in 1950, the market went nowhere during your teens. You saw it as a place where money evaporates. Neither person is crazy, they are just shaped by their own history. Your personal experiences with money make up maybe 0.00001% of what's happened in the world, but maybe 80% of how you think the world works. So when you see someone making a financial decision that looks stupid to you, remember they are not crazy. They are just playing a game based on a different set of rules and experiences than yours. Lesson 2: Luck and risk. We often overlook the two most powerful forces in finance, luck and risk. They are the same coin, just different sides. Let's look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates is incredibly smart and hardworking. But consider this: in 1968, he attended Lakeside School, one of the only high schools in the world that had a computer. If he had gone to any other high school, there would be no Microsoft. That is luck. Now consider Kent Evans. You probably haven't heard of him. Kent was Bill Gates' best friend in school. He was just as smart and just as ambitious as Gates. They planned to conquer the world of computers together. But before he graduated high school, Kent died in a mountaineering accident. The odds of dying on a mountain at that age were roughly 1 in a million. That is risk. Bill Gates experienced 1 in a million luck. Kent Evans experienced 1 in a million risk. The same force, just a different direction. The lesson here is humility. When you are successful, realize that it's not all due to your hard work. Luck played a role, and when you fail, or when you see others fail, realize that it's not always due to laziness. Risk played a role. Focus less on specific individuals and more on broad patterns. Because luck and risk are hard to predict, but they are always present. Lesson 3: Never enough. There is a story about Rajat Gupta. He was an orphan from Kolkata who rose to become the CEO of McKinsey. He was worth over $100 million. By any standard, he had won the game of life. He could buy anything he wanted. But for Gupta, $100 million wasn't enough. He wanted to be a billionaire. Driven by this greed, he engaged in insider trading. He was caught, sent to prison, and his reputation was destroyed forever. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. Comparing yourself to others is the thief of joy. If you have enough to cover your needs and make you happy, don't risk it all just to get more. As the author says, there is no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. Learning to say this is enough is the only way to win the game. Lesson 4: Confounding Compounding. Warren Buffett is the richest investor of all time. But did you know that $81.5 billion of his $84.5 billion net worth came after his 65th birthday? Buffett is a phenomenal investor. But his secret isn't just his skill, it's time. He started investing when he was 10 years old. If he had started at 30 and retired at 60 like a normal person, you would have never heard his name. Compounding is like planting an oak tree. For the first few years, you don't see much progress. You might feel like giving up. But if you leave it alone, the roots grow deep. And eventually, the growth becomes explosive. Good investing isn't about earning the highest returns every single year. It's about earning pretty good returns that you can stick with for the longest period of time. The big lesson: shut up and wait. Let compound interest do the heavy lifting. Lesson 5: Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Getting money and keeping money are two completely different skills. Getting wealthy requires taking risks, being optimistic and putting yourself out there. But staying wealthy requires the exact opposite. It requires fear, it requires humility. It requires a healthy dose of paranoia, the belief that what you made can be taken away from you just as fast. This is called a survival mindset. You need to survive the market crashes, the recessions, and the bad luck so that you can stay in the game long enough for compounding to work. Plan for your plan to not go according to plan. Room for error, often called a margin of safety, is the most underappreciated part of finance. Having cash in the bank that earns zero interest might seem like a waste. But if that cash prevents you from selling your stocks during a market crash, it is actually the most valuable asset you own. Lesson 6: The man in the car paradox. Here is a paradox we all fall for. When you see someone driving a nice Ferrari, you rarely think, wow, the guy driving that car is so cool. Instead, you think, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. We buy expensive things to gain respect and admiration from others. But the irony is, people aren't looking at you. They are using your purchase to fantasize about themselves. Humility, kindness, and empathy will bring you more respect than horsepower ever will. If your goal is respect, be a good person. If your goal is to show off, buy the car, but know the difference. Lesson 7: Freedom, the ultimate wealth. Finally, what is the point of all this money? The highest form of wealth is not a fancy car or a big house. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. Money's greatest intrinsic value is its ability to give you control over your time. If you have a high salary but you have to work 80 hours a week and miss your children's childhood, are you really rich, or are you just a well-paid slave? True wealth is the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want. This is the highest dividend money pays. Conclusion. So as we wrap up this summary of the psychology of money, remember these 3 takeaways for your own life. Asterisk, stop moving the goalpost. Define what enough means to you. Asterisk, focus on survival. Don't try to get rich quick. Try to stay wealthy for a long time. Asterisk, prioritize freedom. Use your money to buy time, not things. Finance is not about spreadsheets. It's about sleeping well at night. This is Slow Wisdom. Thank you for listening.